With the release of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD-2D, the entire Erdrick trilogy is complete. These are some of the titles that created the RPG genre, and are a must-play for anyone and everyone. So in today's video, we're going to break all 3 games in chronological order, which means starting with 3, then 1, and finally 2. Standard disclaimers coming off the top. These are powerful ways I've discovered each of these games can be played based on my own painstaking research. You do not need to do this. All of these games can be beaten without 100% optimizing, even on Draconian Quest difficulty. I also love seeing collaboration and new ideas in my comments section, so feel free to share your own builds and what you think would be any improvements to my existing ones here. Whether you're playing these games for the first time or just looking for a new way to play on a future run, I hope these builds were a great jumping off point for you to have a super fun time with this game. Let's start with Dragon Quest 3, where we have 3 party members who can all change their classes and Erdrick. Erdrick is stuck in the hero class and cannot change out of it. This isn't a big deal, since the hero class is one of the best and most well-balanced classes in the game. Our first determinant for Erdrick would be personality, as it governs stat growth. You'll want to go with Tough Cookie for a male Erdrick or the Vamp personality for a female Erdrick. Males can get the Vamp personality later in the remake thanks to seeds, but I personally think it would be best to just start as a lady right out of the gate, so you don't need to fiddle with that. There's also a larger amount of armor in the game that's restricted to female only, so I've considered that in this recommendation as well. There's also no need to class swap for special growths and picking up skills, since Erdrick is the hero forever, so all you need to worry about is equipment. The best weapons for Erdrick are the Destructiball for groups of enemies or the Sword of Kings for single targets. You'll want a male to equip the light armor, and a female would use the Shimmering Dress. The rest of the equipment remains the same across both male and female. Great Helm, Hero Shield, and one of the 2 Meteorite Bracers are all must-includes. As is the case in all Dragon Quest games, you'll want to swap between swords and either boomerangs or whips on Erdrick, depending on whether you're fighting single or groups of enemies throughout the entire adventure. The hero class is overall well balanced, with powerful skills like Giga Slash and powerful magic in the form of spells like Omni Heal and the entire Zap family of spells. The hero is tough and can surmount any challenge in the game with minimal input on the player's part. Now we need to worry about characters who will change classes, so we're going to build ourselves the holy trinity of tank, DPS, and healer. Let's take a look at our beefiest character. We need the tank, the frontline damage dealer that can absorb any hit and live to tell the tale. I know this may initially seem counterproductive and will probably make your early game more difficult, but you can expect the late game payoff to be worth it. We will actually start our tank in the Thief class. That's because the Thief has a high agility growth and we need to pile on those growths before switching, since other classes don't have the ability to stack up agility that our Thief does. You can abuse a boomerang in the early game and should be relatively fine until your first class change at 20 after learning Snoop. At this point, you will transition into a warrior and start building up some heft on your character. Warrior is unfortunately not a great final class candidate, but this will start building on our Thief's natural agility with other stats like stamina and strength until 21. Once the warrior hits 21, having learned essential skills like Pressure Pointer and Whipping Boy, we'll move the character into the newly added Monster Wrangler. This is an additional step, it seems, to our endgame goals, but a Monster Wrangler has decent growth, and our objective here is to recruit 50 monsters to learn Wild Side. Wild Side is an amazing ability that allows us to repeat our selected action, turning 1 turn into 2. Once Wild Side is learned, we are ready to move on to our final class, the Martial Artist. This is one of the best endgame classes. Martial Artists provide a naturally high crit rate that increases with their level, and with all of the other vocations you've learned so far, you've built on a solid defensive base between the Warrior, the Thief, and the Monster Wrangler. This character can also use the Monster Wrangler's Wild Side to use their attack abilities twice in each turn, providing you with an excellent physical attacker. For our Martial Artist's final equipment, it's everything you see here on screen. And when all of this work comes together, you are left with a martial arts master, the likes of which the world has never seen. Akira Toriyama would be proud. With physical out of the way, let's move to magic damage. Our base is the mage, who hopefully has a genius personality. We'll want to stick with this class until we learn Crackle around level 32. Ideally at this point, we use an item called the Words of Wisdom to change directly into a sage. Alternatively, you need to get a class called the Gadabout to 21st and then change into a sage. But in this case, we'll assume that this is the character you used your Words of Wisdom on. We want to stick with the Sage and their incredible magic growth until at least level 38, allowing us to learn Kaboom. Once Kaboom is in our arsenal, our caster is going to also change into a Monster Wrangler, so they can also learn Wild Side. Once Wild Side is in our arsenal and the 50 monsters are in our stable, we're immediately ready to change into our final class, the Thief. With a massive agility bonus combined with the ability to cast some of the most powerful spells in the game twice in a row, this character will wipe out any fodder before they have a chance to attack our party, leaving you with only the most powerful enemies to fight. Our Thief's final equipment, as you can see, provides solid defensive bulk, and we are taking the strongest accessory we have available that can augment the power of our spells. Our final party member is our healer, and we will begin their journey as a priest. Our priest is going to want to at least hit level 23 through 25 so they can learn Zing. Now don't worry, we'll be able to get all of their healing spells later. We just want to make sure we have Zing. We'll move them into Thief up into 20 and then into Monster Wrangler again to get Wild Side. With a decent pool of agility and double actions, we can push this healer into a Gadabout and then make the healer's final class Sage at level 20. Now, the reason we used our Words of Wisdom on the damage-dealing caster and not our healer is because the hero can pick up some of the slack on healing while your healer is in the Gadabout class. They can't necessarily do that with magic damage. Hopefully your healer was also a genius, because now this Sage is gonna get nutty. You've got plenty of healing spells to work with and powerful magic growths. Agility is less critical on your healer than your damage-dealing caster, which is why the healer is ending in Sage over Thief. Your Sage will also be able to deal damage on turns where you do not need to heal. Equipment is as you see on screen. With these 4 party members together and fully developed, nothing will stand in your team's way. And they will become a party truly worthy of going down in legend. It's just a shame that only Erdrick is the one the history books remember. We move on to the next game in the timeline, the legendary original Dragon Quest. Our protagonist, whom I'll call Aleph since that is his name on the drama CD, is a loner in this game. He is the only member of your party, and the vast majority of his quest is entirely solo. Since there's only one build, allow me to share some helpful tips on your journey through Dragon Quest as well. Spoilers ahead for this section, but I've taken care to mark it as a chapter, so you can easily skip past it if necessary, and you just want to see the build. This concerns Princess Gawain. See, if you go and get the Sunstone when prompted, and then go save the princess from the Green Dragon, you don't have to take the princess back to the castle straight away. Not only can the princess help you in battle while she's with you, making certain parts of the game much easier, but you will also see unique cutscenes and interactions that you would not see otherwise with her in your party. If you genuinely want to experience all the original Dragon Quest has to offer, you should keep the princess with you for as long as possible. Aleph's best equipment is a no-brainer. As the scion of Erdrick, he can wield all of Erdrick's weapons scattered throughout the world. Erdrick's sword is in the basement of the Dragon Lord's castle, Erdrick's shield is in the exterior of the Weeping Isle, Erdrick's armor is found after defeating the Knight Aberrant in Damdara, the Dream Whisperer fairy holds Erdrick's helm in the Shrine of Rain, and the Mark of Erdrick is dropped after defeating Armageddon at the Shrine of the Spirit. With all of Erdrick's gear in your hands, enemies will stand no chance. I also recommend keeping the strongest whip or boomerang you have with you for random encounters to take out groups of monsters, swapping to Erdrick's sword when it's time to fight bosses. With a loadout like this, the end of your game is going to be very, very easy. As you travel through, just make sure you keep a sword in one hand and a whip or boomerang in the other. The final game in the trilogy, and the one most improved by the HD-2D remake, is Dragon Quest II Luminaries of the Legendary Line. This follows a ragtag group of princes and princesses, each with their own set of abilities. Unlike in Dragon Quest III, wherein you had insane customization for your party members, these characters are all set in what abilities they learn and what they are good at, so it's relatively easy to gear them up into absolute legends worthy of bookending Erdrick's legacy. I'll be referring to each party member delivered by their given name and promotional materials, but you can name them whatever you'd like. And the equipment listed here is assuming you're going all the way into the post-game for the true ending. That's right, there's more to do after the credits. We'll start with our first party member, Gawain, the Prince of Midenhall. This is the very first character you have access to, and he is an absolute powerhouse. Gawain unfortunately cannot learn a single spell, but in exchange for that caveat, he has unparalleled physical prowess. He is the best candidate in your party for inheriting Erdrick's gear. As shown in our graphic, we want to give him all of Erdrick's equipment. Throughout the game, you should feed him every seed of strength you can to beef up his martial might further. His scroll options are minimal compared to the rest of the party, considering he cannot learn spells, so make sure you at the very least give him the likes of Propeller Blade and Undead Undoer, so he can grab as much bonus damage as possible. Caradoc is the Prince of Cannock and our second party member. His fighting style is the closest to the original Erdrick's, as he can swap between a physical damage role and a supporting role. Since he is not as physically strong as Gawain, we want to augment his potential in other ways. His best weapon is the Falcon Sword of Ruin, which lets him attack twice. The rest of his equipment is similar to Gawain's, as he uses the entire liquid metal set. For his accessories, we will want the Banishing Ball to negate all status ailments, along with the Meteorite Bracelet for extra agility. When it comes to scrolls, he has a couple of standout skills you won't want to miss. Make sure throughout your journey, when you have the option to, you find the scrolls that teach him Zin, Wind Sickles, and Kaklang to make the most of his supportive magic abilities. Peronel, the Princess of Moonbrooke, is the best magic user in the entire game, and essentially the opposite of Gawain, boasting magical prowess but little physical aptitude. Her best weapon is the Godbird Staff, which can absorb MP in a pinch if you hit somebody with it. She will use the liquid metal shield as her primary shield, just like the other characters, but the rest of her equipment is where the similarities end. The Duplicate Hat is a must for her, letting her cast all of her spells twice in a row. She also complements her staff with the Godbird Robe, reducing the MP consumption of all of her spells. You should also give her a Banishing Bell as well, and the best agility boosting accessory you can find, like the Meteorite Bracelet. Peronel is your best candidate for spell scrolls, so even though Caradoc has the chance to learn them, you'll want to give her Crack and Crackle over him. You should also be on the lookout for Frizz, Defizzle, and Bazoom, so she has the most expensive spell toolkit possible to support you. She is also the best candidate in your party for your Seeds of Life and Seeds of Wisdom. Give her those to increase her survivability and magical power in that order, and you will have a powerful magic caster that doesn't end up getting one-shot. Our fourth and final party member, entirely new for the remake, is Matilda, the Princess of Cannock. Freed from NPC jail, she is now finally able to join the party on their adventures. She's the thief of the group and has a very flexible kit, allowing her to attack or support with ease thanks to her naturally high agility. We will give her Rubus's sword, which she can use to deal damage to all enemies if necessary. Her helm and shield are predictably the liquid metal set. But for her armor, we want to go with the Exotoga, providing her with reduced damage from spells and resistance to all status effects so she can support in a pinch. She will also take a Banishing Bell and your best agility boosting accessory if available. There are a couple of scrolls out there that can beef up her abilities in magic. Bang and Buff are the most noticeable abilities that she can learn from scrolls. And with her naturally high agility, she is easily the best candidate for Assassin Stab, which she can use to instantly clear out any enemy unlucky to cross paths with your party, likely before anyone else is able to take a turn. With those abilities under her belt and her well-rounded stats, I'm honestly ecstatic that Matilda has finally been allowed to join us on this adventure. And with that, we are at an end. Those are the best builds you can use at the end of each game in the entire Erdrick trilogy. I hope these builds helped you craft a party that provided a mesmerizing adventure through some of the most influential video games ever made. As always, I welcome your input, so if you have any ideas you'd like to share when it comes to building these characters in any of these games, please share them in the comments below. I'd also like to hear whether or not one of my builds helped you with a boss, so feel free to share that information as well. As you head down in the comments, be sure to check out the Discord, Patreon, and Ko-fi. Huge thanks to everyone across all those platforms for your support, and a big thanks to you for watching until the end of the video. This is Kawaii50, hoping you all have a phenomenal day, and I'll see you all in the next one.